This is the anniversary week of the 9/11 attacks, both on 9/11/2001 and 9/11/2012, Benghazi. And I want to talk about Benghazi in particular because President Obama is back in the news because he's out campaigning for Democrats, which is his God-given right as an American. So he can do whatever he wants in that regard. But he talked about and he criticized those who embrace Benghazi conspiracy theories, which I think blew the top of many Americans who understand the lies he and his colleagues, like Hillary Clinton, engaged in and the cover-up on Benghazi. Now, the Benghazi attack occurred on September 11th, 2012. A pretty good indication that it was a terrorist attack. And indeed, the documents that Judicial Watch has uncovered show it was a terrorist attack, and the government knew about it. The Obama administration knew about it. Hillary Clinton's State Department knew about it from the get-go. So I want to talk about these alleged conspiracy theories that Obama's talking about. I don't even know what they are. So I presume is that they knew that it was an attack. They knew it was an attack, but lied to the American people as a conspiracy theory. Well, Judicial Watch has the documents to prove that, because Judicial Watch is the one that has done the most significant investigation into Benghazi. And yes, I include congressional investigations in comparison. Ours was more substantial. It was independent, and it was unafraid. In fact, there would have been no Benghazi Select Committee but for Judicial Watch's investigation exposing White House involvement in the big lie behind Benghazi. And this is the big release. I have it here. I remember it 4 years ago, April 29th, 2014. The headline of the release, Judicial Watch, Benghazi documents point to White House on misleading talking points. Now, you may recall Susan Rice, then UN ambassador for Hillary. Hillary didn't go out on the talk show circuit after 9/11, the Benghazi 9/11. They sent Susan Rice, and she lied in every talk show, saying that a video made him do it. It was a spontaneous demonstration rooted in an internet video. Now, it turns out, and they knew at the time, it was a terrorist attack, a coordinated, planned terrorist attack. But the government, or the Obama administration, blamed it on the intelligence. The intelligence said it was a video. Well, there is no. We found the documents. There was no intelligence saying it was a video. Now, the problem the Obama administration had at the time was Obama was running for office, and one of his campaign themes was that Osama bin Laden is dead, GM is alive. So he's taking credit for rescuing the car companies, that socialist idea, and taking credit for having Osama killed. Fine, it's a fine campaign slogan. But it's severely undermined when our ambassador is killed and 3 other innocents are killed. There's a lower level State Department official there, a young guy who was killed with Ambassador Stevens, and 2 contractors, I think former special forces, were killed several hours later. And it was Judicial Watch who broke open the Benghazi scandal with this document I'm telling you about in this press release, because it was a White House document sent to the State Department prepping Susan Rice with her talking points for her Sunday talk show appearances. Again, it wasn't the intelligence community doing this. It was the White House political operation, specifically a document created by the White House Deputy Strategic Communication Advisor, Ben Rhodes. Now, Ben Rhodes wrote the documents show he was orchestrating a campaign to reinforce Barack Obama and to portray the Benghazi consulate terrorist attack, it wasn't even a consulate, it was a special mission compound, as being, quote, rooted in an internet video and not a failure of policy. And the Rhodes email was sent with the subject line, prep call with Susan, Saturday, 4 p.m., which was the day before she went on every talk show, every Sunday talk show, and lied about it being internet video. It tied it to the White House. Now, you had 5 congressional investigations looking for stuff like this. They weren't able to find it, but Judicial Watch found this document, and it blew it open. Boehner was furious. John Boehner, Speaker at the time. He didn't want to do a select committee, but he caved because he caved because of the public outrage, but he was also personally ticked because he was made to look like a fool by the Obama White House, who withheld this from them. And it was Judicial Watch that got this document. And in response to this very document I'm telling you about, Boehner created the Select Committee on Benghazi. The document that I'm telling you about lists as a goal to underscore that these protests are rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure or policy. So the goal was blame the video and not Obama. It's even worse than blame the video and not the terrorists. Blame the video and not Obama. But the former president would tell you, reading this, is that a conspiracy theory to say they were lying about what was going on and it was a political response, not a truthful response? Of course not. I want to tell you about another conspiracy theory. Again, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's factual. Because many people are concerned arms were going out of Benghazi. Well, we have the documents showing the Obama administration no arms were going out of Benghazi. I mean, this is the headline in this one release. This is probably the most, there were a lot of significant releases on the Benghazi, but I think, as I look back at all the work we do, this may be one of the most important releases that Judicial Watch has ever issued. Obviously, this Talking Points one was a big one. This one is a bigger one in many ways. Defense State Department documents reveal Obama administration knew that al-Qaeda terrorists had planned Benghazi attack 10 days in advance. Subheadline: Administration knew 3 months before the November 12, 2000 presidential election of ISIS plans to establish a caliphate in Iraq tied to Benghazi. Administration knew of arms being shipped from Benghazi to Syria. This release was issued in May of 2015. You probably haven't read about it or heard about it on CBS, NBC, or CNN, or ABC. I mean, these are smoking gun documents. The documents show that the DoD, Department of Defense, almost immediately reported that the attack on the Benghazi compound was committed by the al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood. There's still a debate whether to designate Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. We got documents tying him to the 9/11 Benghazi attack. Called Brigades of the Captive of Omar Abdul Rahman. Now, he's the infamously known, he's known as the Blind Sheik. He was behind the 1993 terrorist attack on the Trade Center. The documents also provide the official confirmation that shows the U.S. knows, first official confirmation, U.S. knew about arms shipments out of Syria, out of Benghazi and Libya to Syria. And the documents include an incredible warning about the emergence of ISIS that, of course, was ignored. Document shows, the Defense Department document I'm telling you about, the goal of the terrorist attack. This is dated on September 12, 2012. The goal of this terrorist group was to kill as many Americans as possible. And they're blaming it on a video. This is the intelligence they were seeing it, and they were lying to you. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Susan Rice that it was a video. Specifically, the attack was planned 10 or more days prior on approximately September 1st, 2012. The intention was to attack the consulate and to kill as many Americans as possible to seek revenge for the U.S. killing of Al-Ibi, I don't know how to pronounce it, in Pakistan, an al-Qaeda leader, and in memorial of the September 11th, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Centers. I said, this was written the day after the Benghazi attack. And just think back to this document and the document I told you about by Ben Rhodes saying, we got to blame it on an internet video and not a broader failure of policy. First official documentation of arms going out. Another report from, this one from which agency? A Department of Defense document. And you can read these all online. I don't know if we can get all links up to them, but you can read them all online. An October 2012 report confirms, during the immediate aftermath of and following the uncertainty caused by the downfall of the Gaddafi regime in October 2011 and up until early September of 2012, Benghazi attack, weapons from the former Libya military stockpiles located in Benghazi, Libya, were shipped from the point of Benghazi, Libya, to the ports of Benias and the port of Borj Islam, Syria. The DI, and this is the Defense Intelligence Agency document, so this is a pretty serious agency. This is the intelligence agency for our military. It's better than the CIA. The weapons shipped from Syria during the late August 2012 period were sniper rifles, RPGs, and 125 millimeter and 155 millimeter howitzer missiles. The numbers for each weapon were estimated to be 500 sniper rifles, 100 RPG launchers, and 300 total rounds, and approximately 400 howitzer missiles, 200 each 125 millimeter, and 200 each 155 millimeter. Now, the document is unclear as to whether they could have stopped this transition, or these shipments, or whether they even were running them. But the level of specificity shows that they were essentially in the room, or had someone in the room to get these numbers. So that so-called conspiracy theory about arms being run at Benghazi into Syria, true. And then we have the linkage of Benghazi and the Libya deterioration, the failure of policy, and the rise of ISIS. Because essentially what happened is that after they murdered, or allowed to be murdered, Muammar Gaddafi, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama did, Libya collapsed as a civil society, or what to a degree it was even a civil society, and all the terrorists rushed in, and it became a way station for radicalism to other parts of the Middle East, including Syria, and the coming conflagration there. This report was written in 2012. Said the opposition in Syria was driven by Al-Qaeda and other extremist Muslim groups. The Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda Iraq were the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. The growing sectarian direction of the war was predicted to have dire consequences for Iraq, which included the grave danger of the rise of ISIS. And essentially what was happening is that the borders of Iraq and Syria, the military forces of both nations at the government level were pulling back. And into that gap, they recognized that you were going to have Al-Qaeda in Iraq step into the gap, and it provided an opportunity for ISI should, this is a quote, could also declare Islamic State through its union with other terrorist organizations in Iraq and Syria, which will create grave dangers in regard to unifying Iraq and the protection of its territory. Holy moly. They knew about what was going to happen in Syria in 2012, and they knew it was going to happen as a result of the activities of, according to this document, of the groups that the United States under Barack Obama were supporting and the rest of the West were supporting. And this document was given it to us in response to a request about documents about Benghazi. So it ties Benghazi to all of this as well. So yes, ISIS, arms in Syria, lies about video, all exposed by Judicial Watch. And this is why people get upset when Obama says people embrace conspiracy theories. They're not conspiracy theories. He's upset because people know the truth as a result of Judicial Watch about his lies and Hillary Clinton's cover-up. And this is the one that's going to really get you mad. We found this in December of 2015. 2015, 3 years after the attack. New Benghazi email shows DOD offered State Department forces that could move to Benghazi immediately. You heard that right. So the other conspiracy theory is that the military could have gone to the rescue, but they were not allowed. Well, in fact, that's what happened. What had happened in Benghazi was there were two attacks. There was the attack initially on the Special Mission Compound that led to the death of Ambassador Stevens and his colleague from the State Department. And then 5 or 6 hours later, there was an attack at the CIA Annex, which was about a mile or so away. And that led to the deaths of the two operators on the roof there. Now, according to this document, that second attack, we could have had military forces helping those people there, and lives could have been saved. Because this is what happened. At 7 o'clock, an email was sent to the top leadership of the State Department. State colleagues, I just tried you on the phone, but you were all in with S, meaning Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. After consulting with General Dempsey, General Ham, and the Joint Staff, we have identified the forces that could move to Benghazi. They were spinning up as we speak. Spinning up as we speak. Means they were ready to go. All they needed was the green light. They include A, and then they redacted with the forces that were available. Assuming principals agree to deploy these elements, we will ask State to procure the approval from host nation. Please advise how you wish to convey the approval to us. Well, we now know what happened. They were never sent. In fact, they were delayed. They didn't get in there late until special forces traveled to Benghazi from Tripoli on their own initiative. Other military assets were only used to recover the dead and wounded and to evacuate U.S. personnel. In fact, they only had one plane available to move our people out of Benghazi. They had to leave some people behind because they didn't have enough people, enough planes to take everyone out at once. Unbelievable. So, another conspiracy theory. We could have sent people to get there in time. Our military was ready to go. Leadership of the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, failed to utilize them. In fact, when they finally did arrive, I don't have the specifics in this release, but I recall pretty specifically. You may double check me on this, but you'll figure it out exactly what's right, is that there was a delay in deploying troops because they didn't want to have them in military uniforms. Because they were embarrassed. They didn't want to agitate the Libyans any further. So forgive me for going on a little bit, but I am angry about what happened in Benghazi. I'm still angry about it. We lost people unnecessarily, and our government's been lying about it ever since. And believe it or not, we are still fighting for Benghazi records. We're still fighting from the State Department on Benghazi records. So, I mean, those 4 men who died there, their families, I wish them the best. But I'm also thinking of those who deployed militarily overseas or civilian personnel deployed overseas. Don't think this hasn't impacted them. Because the promise had been, if things go to hell in a handbasket, we'll have our people there to protect and save you and rescue you in a timely fashion. And that promise was thrown out the window as a result of Benghazi and the refusal to hold anyone accountable for the failure to keep that commitment we give to our people that we send overseas on our behalf. It harms not only the morale of those deployed overseas, the morale of their family left behind. And you may think because 5 years, 6 years have passed, That people have forgotten this? They haven't forgotten it. You can bet the Special Forces community hasn't forgotten it. You can bet anyone deployed overseas in the Middle East hasn't forgotten what happened in Benghazi. And it's one extra worry these fine men and women have as they're facing the difficult job of trying to protect themselves from the terrorist threat abroad.